Hello, I'm Kurt Hollenbeck, and I am one of the founders of Microbiome Weight Loss Systems. Let me ask you a quick question. How many have heard your doctors say this to you? We are going to do everything possible that we can do to help you lose this weight. No one? Probably not. When you consider that nutrition is barely mentioned in medical schools, and proper nutrition is the key to weight loss and preventative health care, they really don't have much to offer. I know I never heard it. I remember growing up, they had Sunday night movies, and it was always someone dying of cancer. Every one of these movies had the same scene in it. The patient goes in for tests, and a few days later returns to the doctor's office and gets the terrible news. It always had the doctor looking very determined and saying, "We are going to beat this. We are going to do everything we can to defeat this cancer." So if you're going to the doctors, be sure you have cancer, and don't be fat. Doctors do not like fat people. They're non-compliant. It's sad, but there are many studies out there, the most famous probably from Yale's Rudd Center for Food Policy and Obesity, showing that this is true for the majority of doctors. Some doctors even refuse to accept obese patients. Don't get me wrong on doctors. They are amazing and perform miracles. But they are people, and this for a majority of doctors is a shortcoming. It truly affects the care fat patients receive. We have a link to the Rudd Center study on our site. Every fat person should be aware of the ways that the medical industry discriminates against them. Not to get mad, but to understand it and to be able to recognize it when it is happening to you. You deserve as good a care as anyone. Individuals should not be held responsible for a national epidemic. So let me say here and now, and very loud, we are going to beat this thing. We are going to do everything we can to defeat this weight problem. It has been said to you, and it is meant. We had the most innovative weight loss program available. We have tried to recognize every component of weight loss that we could identify and create tools for them. You would think that something with around a 95 to 98% failure rate would be understood to be very difficult to achieve, but when you look at the effort of the medical field to defeat this epidemic, it's incredibly weak. It wasn't until it became evident that the medical issues surrounding weight gain, and weight gain is not really the issue, metabolic syndrome is. But when it became apparent that these issues were going to bankrupt the health system, then people became interested. Couple this new gained interest in fat people with the new knowledge being gained daily on the microbiome, and the past decade has been a real game changer. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to tell when a book on losing weight is not written by a fat person? It's evident within the first few lines. I used to think it was because they needed to sell the book or program, but really, I think it's that they don't have a clue. Here are a few examples of what I mean. The pounds just melt away. Really simple. It's easy. In just a few weeks, the cravings will simply disappear. Eat all you want and never feel hungry. And my personal favorite, you'll be amazed. I have been trying to achieve weight loss for over 30 years, and I have yet to be amazed. A big part of the problem is that there is no acknowledgement about all weight loss entails. It is not just a physical problem. There are huge psychological issues. I think this is the best line I ever read about weight loss. It was written by Kristen Conger in an article titled Understanding Food Cravings. If we were to compare stomach hunger and mind hunger to different types of telephones, stomach hunger would be a one-line analog phone, and mind hunger would take the form of a high-end cell phone with camera, internet, and MP3 player capabilities. Doctors who generally write these books are not equipped to handle the mental side of this issue. To be fair, the way the medical field is set up now, doctors can't afford to spend the time necessary with patients to deal with these issues. The problem is that weight loss has many components. Doctors may have good information pertaining to their specific field of the problem, but they never acknowledge the other fields of the problem. It would be like a football line coach writing a book on blocking, but presenting it as if great blocking was all you needed for a football team. Yes, blocking is very important, but so is route running, tackling, play design, and many other areas that a team needs to excel in. Change is one of the most difficult tasks a person will ever take on. We are not hardwired for change, much less a change that has components of addiction thrown into it. Any change is difficult, but changing your eating habits is one of the most difficult things you can attempt. The failure rate speaks for itself. Seeing the difficulties and understanding them and planning for them is very necessary for success. Acting as if this is going to be a walk in the park is not going to get it done. I have a lot of experience with addiction. I don't want you to get hung up on the word addiction. When we talk about addiction, we are just talking about the areas of the brain that are being used and the brain chemicals being utilized. This is one of the biggest reasons losing weight and keeping it off has such a high failure rate. Abstinence is one of the most powerful tools to utilize with addiction. But as you well know, you have to eat. And while people will downplay that, it is a major obstacle. We will show you how you can integrate abstinence into this fight. Don't worry, you still get to eat. Having said all that, let me say this. The research world has made unbelievable progress in almost every aspect involved in weight loss over the past decade. We bring the most cutting-edge tools to bear on this fight. The most important area, the real game changer in this battle, is getting the microbiome healthy. We will show you why it is so important to eat with your microbiome in mind. It is why at the end of 2 months on our program, you are so much better off than almost all the others. Bottom line, our program is about much more than losing weight. The microbiome influences every aspect of your health. The microbiome is the key to getting your body to work for you. But the microbiome can also be fun. There are some mad skills to learn and room for a lot of creativity in feeding the little buggers. Probiotic pills are a poor second choice and are very, very expensive for what you get. Best to make your own. I will give you a hint. These little guys learned to eat long before there was refrigeration. Okay, I lied. Here's a little tidbit about the microbiome that amazed me. My first time in over 30 years of being amazed. It clearly demonstrates how important your microbiome is to your weight. If a genetic sequencing lab has your complete genome sequence and all your DNA, and that is all they know about you, they can predict whether you are fat or thin with about 60% accuracy. However, if a microbiome lab has a profile of your microbiome, and that is all they have, they can predict whether you are fat or thin with 90% accuracy. 90%. If you don't have your microbiome right, you have a 10% chance of being thin. 10%. If you get your microbiome right and keep it right, you have a 90% chance of being thin. 90%. The microbiome is the key to getting your body to work for you. Do you really want to try to be one of the 10%? I would love to tell you how easy it is to get that microbiome healthy, but anything with a 95 to 98% failure rate is not easy. Changing your eating habits has a 95 to 98% failure rate. If knowledge was all it took to change, then these books would be all we need and we would all be thin a long time ago. Change for people is anything but easy, and something so physically and psychologically ingrained in us as our eating pattern is going to take your total commitment. We supply some great tools to help you, but those tools still need your A game. There is just no way around saying it. For a period of time, learning to eat for your microbiome and getting it healthy is going to have to be one of the most important goals in your life. That doesn't mean you ignore your wife and kids and job. For the most part, what it means is that you will need to expend the energy to keep losing weight at the front of your mind. We have great tools to help you achieve this, but you have to be the one to use them. There are some great medications out there to help you while you are attempting to change your microbiome. I asked my mother once to inquire from her doctor about phentermine. Her doctor told her she didn't really know much about it and never prescribed it. This is a doctor who works in an area with one of the highest rates of obesity in the country. Let me tell you something about phentermine. It is prescribed by over 70% of bariatric specialists. The doctors who specialize in weight loss for obese people utilize phentermine. And yet, a doctor practicing in an area with one of the highest rates of obesity doesn't know much about it or utilize it? That says all I need to hear about the attitudes of doctors toward their overweight patients. I bet she's handing out type 2 diabetes medicine like it's candy, though. There is a very important caveat to the medication, however. Medication is not the answer. Medication is a very useful tool to help you achieve your overall goal. We have phentermine clinics here like we used to have pain pill clinics. They hand out the phentermine with very little guidance. I went to a couple, and that is one of the big reasons I started this program. Phentermine has been around since the 50s. I can guarantee you that anything that has been around since the 50s is not the answer. But that doesn't mean that it can't be part of the answer. While some may find this next topic touchy-feely, it is anything but. Researchers have made some wonderful insights into goal setting and goal attainment. We utilize a wonderful program called WOOP, Wish Outcome Obstacle Plan. It takes the wishing out of goal setting. If you will take the time to understand how to utilize this tool properly, you will have an amazing asset with you the rest of your life. It is all about reaching your goals, not dreaming about them. We also have a daily app specially designed to aid in handling cravings. I think we can all agree that cravings are one of the biggest pitfalls out there. Cravings and special event days, they were death to me over the years. And I don't just mean holidays and birthdays. I also mean the unexpected special event days when something really good or bad occurs. Those unplanned for events are a nightmare. They put me straight into my deserve role, as in, I deserve these donuts because that was a really bad thing that happened to me. How sabotaging my eating regimen and doing harm to myself made it better, I have no idea, but I did it my whole life. We also promote the use of intermittent fasting. Now, don't panic. This is an individual choice, but we teach intermittent fasting and really believe in it both for the physical and mental benefits gained. The fact that the head honcho of the anti-aging department at the National Institute for Health is one of the biggest proponents of this eating regimen makes us feel really confident about this recommendation. There is so much more science and better science backing this eating regimen than there is for grazing. Researchers have also discovered this about intermittent fasting. Calorie restriction enriches phylotypes positively correlated with lifespan, for example the genus Lactobacillus, and reduces phylotypes negatively correlated with lifespan. The research is definitely showing that intermittent fasting is beneficial to the microbiome, but we understand if intermittent fasting is not something you feel comfortable with. It's a big change from what we have had preached to us for the past 3 to 4 decades. We just think everyone should be exposed to the research. For too long, our eating habits have been dictated to us from some really bad science. We will show you why this bad science is a major contributor to the obesity epidemic. There's a very strong argument to be made that the obesity epidemic is just a wonderful gift given to us by our government and the food industry. Think lobbying dollars. We have basically been subsidizing the sugar industry to poison us, and we continue to do so. And finally, I would like to say that I have found some of my greatest gifts when I was forced to tackle a difficulty head on. This is one of those times. Our bodies are what they are, and wishing it were different is not going to cut it. Being overweight and having to learn about the microbiome is a gift. Everyone eating a Western diet would benefit from our program, but very few thin people or slightly overweight people will ever look at this information. Unfortunately for them, the microbiome influences a lot more than just being overweight. It is the foundation of how nutrients get into our bodies, and it houses up to 85% of our immunity system. There's not a modern-day health epidemic that is not examining the influence of the microbiome. Everything from obesity to autism to Alzheimer's to all the autoimmune diseases are looking at how the microbiome influences these illnesses, as well as many of the mental illnesses, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, and on and on. I have no doubt that the discoveries surrounding the microbiome will be as important to our health as the discovery of antibiotics was. Your extra weight does not cause these other diseases. We will clearly demonstrate this in our program. Weight is probably the first indicator that your body is starting to malfunction. It is a sort of leading indicator that a world of hurt is about to be laid upon you. Hypertension, diabetes, sleep apnea, autoimmune diseases, and a host of other villains are laying in wait. These are painful, chronic diseases that destroy our health and financial well-being. If you have health insurance or Medicare, more than likely you are covered for most, if not all, of this program. Most policies have to include a preventative health care benefit. You are covered up to $1,600. Our program is exactly why this benefit is included. We are all about preventing the huge costs of these chronic diseases. If you have health insurance or Medicare, you need to take advantage of this benefit. It is why it is in there. You're paying for it, use it. I know it can be difficult to gear up for another go at tackling this weight issue. I was there. I had more or less resigned myself to the fates before a co-worker suggested phentermine to me. While phentermine wasn't the answer, my experience with it opened my eyes to all this great research. You need to ask yourself, what do you truly believe? Do you really believe you can go on eating your current regimen and dodge all these chronic epidemics? If your answer is that you know there is a good chance that you are on a path towards one or more of these chronic diseases, you need to be honest with yourself. Your health and your financial well-being will both be under attack if you continue down this road. These chronic illnesses just destroy quality of life. It truly is an exciting time for weight loss research, and if you can muster up the gumption for one more shot at it, I think you will be justly rewarded. Yes, it can be difficult and challenging, but it is also exhilarating and rewarding. You don't have to be great at everything the first day. I stumbled a number of times, but I believed in the process and it works. I was 54 when I started the program. Believe me, at that age, my fat had the half-life of uranium. It didn't want to go anywhere. It thought it had squatter's rights, but I kept at it, and eventually it really started to take hold. Somewhere between the second and third month, I really started to feel it. I knew I had turned a corner. I don't think I have felt this good and this energetic since my 20s. No, it wasn't easy, but it was doable. Much more than just your weight is at stake. We will demonstrate that to you within the first 10 minutes of our program. We are talking about the very foundation of your health, which means its ramifications reach throughout the entire body. There was an old commercial for a transmission company with this tagline: "You can pay me now or pay me later." The car was being towed in and was going to need a new transmission, much more costly and aggravating than having the tranny repaired. You have the same choice here. You can either choose to get this done now and pay with a commitment to change and start reaping the benefits for the rest of your life, or you can pay later with the pain and cost of chronic illness. Few of us will escape the ravages unless we make this change. Let being overweight be a gift to you. It can be what motivates you to learn a lot of new and exciting things, and we will be there with you the whole way. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will join us on this important journey.